Welcome to the Nerd Party.
In 1961's Yojimbo by Akira Kurosawa, a wandering ronin walks into a town torn apart by two rival gangs, realizes they're both garbage, and decides to play them against each other until everyone is dead and the dust settles. I'm Tristan Riddell, and with me, a man who has already picked a side in this fight and is currently trying to sell me a silk umbrella he found behind the tavern, Darren Moser. And playing the coffin maker across the street, measuring us both for pine boxes because he knows how this ends, John Mills. Yojimbo is the ultimate blueprint for the man with no name. Let's toss a stick in the air to see which way the wind is blowing and talk about one of the coolest bodyguards in cinema. This is Houselights.
Yes.
Yes. Yojimbo.
The Yojimbo.
bodyguard.
So, okay, yes.
yes.
So for those of you who do not know what Yojimbo means, just like I didn't, it means bodyguard. And we're not talking about the Kevin Costner, Whitney Houston one. We're talking about Toshiro Mifune.
Yes. Which it would have been possibly an even bigger hit if they'd had a song tied to this that they could have had over the end credits. Nice tie-in merch.
I'm going to skip our usual
Yes.
outline on how we go about things, and I want to go
Good.
straight into the music because you talked about song.
There you go.
We need to talk about the music, and that's the first thing we're going to talk about. All right, Darren,
right.
You giggled a little bit, and so you get to go first. Was this music at all what you were expecting?
It wasn't what I was expecting because I feel in a lot of ways this is the most Western, and I don't mean like U.S. Western, as in like Western movie. I mean, you could put 6 shooters on all of them, and this is shot by John Wayne. I mean, with John Wayne in it instead. This is so close to that. So with that, going into it, I was expecting a little more, I don't know, atmosphere in that regard. This one has a lot of, it has atmosphere, but not in the music as much. And that's all I'm going to say.
See, I enjoyed what happened with the music here because this actually felt even more like that blending of, sort of like the Western that we've documented here that Kurosawa loves, right? There are these little motifs through here that repeat. There are these little, the silly music comes in during the silly scenes. This is, I would argue with this is Kurosawa fully comfortable manipulating the audience. And that's what the music says to me, is he's willing to give audio signals to everybody to let them know, okay, this is what we're in this movie right now. This is, I think, very easily the movie with the broadest cross-cultural appeal of the ones that we've looked at so far. Because I think that this one, to your point, Darren, yeah, you can see John Wayne walking through there's even dust blowing through the town as the two sides are facing off against each other. Yeah, I mean, they imported dust from the other side of town. But seriously, like there's so much layered into this. You have, you have the House of Ill Repute and the two crime overlords, and they're fighting over territory. And then the lone stranger comes into town, and he's the best sword in the West, and he just happens into town and he decides he's going to take everybody out just for kicks. And the money's the money's a plus to him. He's just doing this because he feels like it's entertaining. What the heck, right? And he can take a beating too, and come back and stronger than ever. So yeah, I mean, I love what the music's doing here because I honestly heard in the music stuff that was very recognizable for what the filmmaker expected me to experience during it.
Yeah, I was taken aback. I'm not saying I didn't like it, but it was not at all what I was expecting, and I tried not to hate it. And I'm not trying to sound cheeky there, like I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I tried to be like, okay, all right, here we go. Okay, I was trying to pump myself up. It's like when you heard the Enterprise theme for the first time, you're like, okay, all right, yeah, we're doing something different. Okay. Faith of the heart. But okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, we've talked about the music. John, have you seen this before?
No, I've seen so many things that were influenced by it, up to and including the Bruce Willis film Last Man Standing. But I can, I haven't seen this before, no. But this is definitely the one where this is the first time I've had the full experience that I did with Hidden Fortress's opening, where I was like, oh, you just lifted this. Gotcha. Like it's very recognizable.
Darren, what did you know about this movie before you went into it?
I misknew things about it. I think I thought that this was the character with the big sword, but that's the same actor in Seventh Samurai. So they're all in black and white. It's really hard for me to tell. No, but I did know that this was a Western one. Like I had heard that before, that this was heavily influential in many Westerns, as well as, and I think they're right, where you could put a little grease on the lens and pretend the swords are guns, and it's real culturally. It's a Western. It is so strong coming through, but I like how it also has a lot of humor. I love him sitting in that little mid-town tower laughing at everybody. It's like the craziest, and I totally picture, I guess John Wayne is going to be our stand-in because we keep saying, I'm picturing him in the town water tower doing the exact same thing, like climbing up and just scoping it out.
What I think is super interesting about it is that the lens by which I've experienced this film, the most number of remakes that I've seen, or that at least are acknowledged, are from the spaghetti westerns. So that in and of itself speaks of a wild, real, like super cross-cultural sort of thing going on, because it's not just American film. It's also the ripoffs of American film were consciously ripping this off too. So it's like, it's this wonderful stew of all of these different things going on that, whether it's Clint Eastwood making it his name as the man with no name, and we have a man with no name here who takes his name from what he's looking at when he's trying to decide what they can call him and everything. Like it's so wild. And like, I've actually, read through a couple of other things that this directly influenced. And I'm like, okay, I got to see those now too, because having seen Yojimbo now, I'm like, all right, it seems like when a rock act remakes a really solid song, you're always interested. It's like, all right, well, let's see what's your take on it. What instrument did you add here? That sort of thing.
I like that. Yeah, this is one of those things where, like when you look at Seven Samurai and when you look at Rashomon, like it's so much of part of our culture and a part of cinematic culture that about it. Even if you don't know everything about it, a little bit about it. Jimbo, nothing. Zero. I had no knowledge. I don't even remember seeing a poster. I didn't read the description. Like I did no research prior to watching it. I went in completely cold. And so it was interesting to see it go about, to see this Ronin wander into town. And I kept wondering as I was watching it, I was like, okay, where is it going to go now? What does he have left to do? How is this going to shake out? So like it did keep me guessing. There was a few times when I was kind of not checking my watch out of boredom, but I was just like, okay, with the time that we have left, I have no idea what's going to happen next. And I think that's a sign of a pretty good story where you think you know how things are going to go and you might be right, but you're still not 100% sure. And when you guys were watching it, did you have an outcome that you were hoping for, or were you just along for the ride?
I can say that overall I was along for the ride, but I knew that it would end with, the nameless hero walking off and being like, all right, catch you later next time, kid. So I got that part. That part of it I knew was a given. Also because slightly mentally cheating, I believe Sanjuro is a sequel to this. So I went into it knowing, okay, well, I know that this is, this character has to make it out at least. But outside of that, the way it bounced around and who got involved and who took what side, no, it was, I thought it was a lot of fun because it was truly this is not, I'm not saying the craft was like this, but I'm saying that it was very obviously constructed in such a way to make it feel chaotic, and chaotic in a good way. There's chaos here. The reason you feel like you can't guess what's coming next is because it is like life. You know, he says at one point, oh, well, I wrote the first half, but then they came out and they rewrote the other half. You know, like the best laid plans, nothing goes according to plan. And so, you know.
Yeah, for me, I don't think I ever really knew where it was going, except for I knew this wasn't going to be one of those times that our hero dies. Like, I couldn't see that happening. So when they gave, which I think is one of the best sequences, the escape through the bottom of the house sequence, I was on the edge of my seat because they were legitimately portraying our hero down for the count. Like, he's really injured. He cannot move at speed. And I think it's funny. Recently I've been watching a lot of Project Hail Mary. And when I saw it with my daughter, you know, I said one of the best things about this is they made you care about the characters. Like, the region you're crying over a rock is because the filmmakers did their job and you care about that character. So in this, I am caring about that character because I am tense, because I see the danger. And because many times, you know, we see our hero get beat up and he takes a round to the shoulder and we do not feel the weight of it at all. He's got such plot armor that we're not even worried. In this, even though, like I just said, I didn't expect him to die, but I'm like, I don't know how he's getting out of this. And then he crawls into the, the chest so that they'll think he's gone for a moment, which is brilliant. It just all of that. And the thumping of feet running on the floorboards above him, just that whole sequence, my favorite part of the whole movie, because I'll tip my hat at those moments to the director and being like, look, you made me care about this character right now. And that doesn't always happen in movies. I think that is kind of rare, actually. So he did a great job in that sequence.
So one thing that I kind of harped on last week with Hidden Fortress was the use of Toho scope. And I do want to say that this film, I did not have that gripe at all. I felt like this perfectly utilized Toho scope, the wide aspect ratio, and it was pretty amazing what they could do with the left, the right, the center, and the Z space. And when he was in the restaurant and the restaurateur was giving exposition, basically, so that the audience would get caught up on, you know, who was who and what was what, moving around like a tracking left, trucking left, panning left and right as he's opening windows, going back and forth and seeing it from his perspective. That was perfectly done. And then when you have the bodyguard sitting there and it starts up top where he's standing and everything is perfect in the frame. There's no wasted space. Like, even though he's the only one in the room, there's no wasted space. Like, you see a mantle, you see the tables, everything's framed perfectly. And then he sits down and the camera follows him in his seat. It's almost Fincher-esque in the way that it happened. And you think like, oh, well, now there's going to be some empty space. But then as he's sitting down, you reveal a fireplace in the lower right. And you hear somebody say, "Mommy," and the camera pans just a little bit more to the right, and boom, a kid runs into frame. And it's perfect execution. And so it's not only really great framing, it's perfect execution within the movement. And this whole movie, I think this movie has to be his best shot film. Personally, I feel like Seven Samurai had better shots in it, but this film was the most consistently good and well executed film cinematically.
Isn't this the first? Isn't it the DP from Rashomon rejoins him for this one? I think that switch happened. with this. So maybe what you're recognizing is that, somebody else sitting behind that, sort of like I did not have the problems last week that you did when we were talking about Hidden Fortress, you heartless person. But I can say that I track exactly with what you're talking about here. And you get a sense very much of, it's like having Roger Deakins come in. When you find out Deakins is attached to a film, you're like, oh, this one, all right, this is going to be like next level good. I think that you might be seeing that here, where it's like I think Hidden Fortress looks great, but I can readily acknowledge everything that you're talking about here, where it's like, oh, but this actually just looks even better in terms of, the staging, in terms of the camera movement, in terms of everything. I think that it is even really super interesting because it does pop out at you in that scene that you're talking about where they're walking around the interior space. And it's like, this side of the road is this side of the road is that, giving you that sense of place that it never violates throughout the rest of the film. They lay it out for you descriptively. And then when you're going around, you're like, oh, okay, well, there's the shop. Okay. And he said it was over here. Okay. I get where I am right now.
Yeah. I mean, I just wax poetically about, the escape in the house scene. This was my second favorite, was everything in the restaurant. Every time they opened the slats and there was something else there. And it was just, like you said, Tristan, not only everything in the restaurant was framed well, but every time they opened the window, it was perfectly framed. And that's what blew my mind, because those are other actors 10 feet farther back through slats that have to line up and not have their eye be like in the slat or something dumb like that. And it looked, yeah. And I felt like I was an observer sitting there with him as he's kind of clandestinizing, oh man, that's a word, with secrecy in the style of the ninja watching. But as he's watching them, yeah, you felt him sizing up the town, which was really, really cool. And yeah, I mean, you guys know me. I'm a sucker for placement and where am I in space. I really like that. And like you said, John, you knew, oh, the brewery's over there and the house is over there and they're at this end of the street. And there's I'm not water tower, but the climbing pole next to the bell, I guess.
Lookout.
Call it.
Lookout spot. The crow's
there
nest.
There you go. So yeah, I love that sequence. If I was making a film, I would probably want to incorporate that and put my person, put him in the middle of like a diner on the corner of something with like the wraparound windows. Like I could totally see that in like a 40s or 50s style. Like that'd be glorious.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And the thing is, so long as we're talking about the sense of place, I do want to say that sake brewery scene with everything just like pouring out and all of that. I'm sitting there. I'm like, well, you actually absorb liquid through your hands and your feet. So everybody there is just drunk out of their minds right now because they're absorbing the alcohol straight through. And sake is pretty strong. So I'm writing that part in. But I love the fact that when they're taking their revenge on each other for this wrong that has been invented, and they're smoking each other out, they're destroying the brewery, where they're doing all of this sort of stuff. I love the fact that this idea of accumulated damage pays off by the end of the film as well, where the space doesn't look like a pristine version of a messed up town. It looks like the actual town got destroyed at the end, which, as we're talking about influences and everything, if there's something that some of the Western films that were influenced by this can be faulted for, it's that the payoff of the destruction never really carries, not never, but a lot of times doesn't carry through the way that you're visually looking at it. You're like, I feel like that town should look a little more messed up. This actually looks like the town had a bomb dropped on it. And just absolutely at the end of the movie, I'm like, that's why it's funny to me at the end when he says, well, the town will be quiet for now. I'm like, well, everybody's dead and all the buildings are gone.
In the background, one single pane creaks a little bit and then falls. And you're like, oh, well,
But that gets to another thing where I think this has a great sense of humor about it. Like, this is all told with a wink toward the audience. I think that Kurosawa was having, I could be way off base. I'm going to read some sort of back end article that talks about how he was like really sad during the making of this or whatever. But like, this has the biggest sense of fun of the movies that we've watched so far. This feels like Kurosawa just having a time and just, going at it and having fun with it.
I want to talk about the scene where the kid comes in and he says, "Mommy," and then all of a sudden, the restaurateur comes by and says like, "Oh, she's out there, take a look." And then we see her get captured. We see her like, being pulled by a rope, and then she's desperately trying to get to her husband and kid. And then they try to do some sort of exchange. When you guys were watching that, did you feel like you missed something? Or did you know that it was going to be revealed later? Like, because to me, I was so absolutely confused. I felt like, did I skip a chapter? Like, did I hit my remote? I didn't know what was going on. I had no idea why we needed to care about this person or what her story was. Am I way off base? Was I trying to jump the gun? What did you guys feel in that moment?
No, it's jarring. I just think that in modern films, they would have had a scene describing it so that when the kid showed up, you'd have been like, "Oh, there's the kid they were talking about earlier. Oh yeah, she's a mom." I'll weigh in and just say that I get that, and I agree with you. Like when he first started like clamoring at the window, I was like, "Wait, what?" But then I realized that was actually a pretty cool way to peel back a layer suddenly, because Sanjuro doesn't know it, or Yojimbo, or the samurai with no name doesn't know it at that point. And so he learns it when we learn it, and vice versa. And so I think that was a very effective way to sort of slap you in the face and make sure you were still with them.
Yeah, I think you are right, Tristan. It was a little jarring, but maybe it's along the lines of, instead of having a scene before, like John was saying, which kind of preps us, there was no prep. So we got the inciting incident for that family at the same time as our hero is learning who they are. And it just didn't quite gel. It got there. I mean, I think the payoff with the fake fight, a bunch of people jumped me, that is the payoff far later. But yeah, we didn't have enough time invested in this family of idiots who don't leave town when he says, but yeah, anyway. I think that the scene where he says, "Oh yeah, all 6 guys were killed and they got away. You better go tell your brother." And the guy runs off, and he looks, and basically he goes in the room and he's like, "Well, sorry guys, got to sell the story here." And he just murders everybody. It's like Cap in the elevator.
Yeah.
Like, "Well, we doing this?" And he just takes them all out.
I told them you were dead. Don't want to be a liar. Like, it's just pretty crazy.
I loved that moment because you could see it in his face even before he got into the room. Like, as he was running towards, like, we all, as an audience, we all knew what was going to happen. It was just like, oh, well, now he's going to have to make that happen. It's right. I thought it was really well done. And I loved the Citizen Kane moment when he's destroying everything. Like, you could practically hear Kurosawa behind the camera saying, "Okay, man, we got one take of this."
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Yeah. We're not doing this again.
Don't trip. Don't stub your toe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although the one thing that came to my mind in that sequence, which I love that whole sequence, is, and this is maybe me throwing logic at it, but if I was the crime boss or whatever, I'd be like, okay, so here's my 6 guys dead. So they didn't take out any of the other guys. Like, they're so incompetent that they are literally slaughtered. Like, I expected to really sell it, have one other person of your men, or the other guy's men dead along with them. But maybe that's just me.
I attribute it to earlier in the movie, they sort of address the quality of the guys, because when he first gets to town, the guy who's supposed to be the constable is like, oh no, those guys are no good. All you have to do is just like cut off one guy's arm, and they're all going to run for the hills, sort of thing. So I think that's sort of like a carry forward moment.
So he's not surprised that his guys just got whooped.
These guys that I'm paying like a bowl of rice and a penny a day weren't that good after all.
Well, and Yojimbo also was manipulating in even just getting out there of like, oh, you only sent 6, like you need to send more. Like, so he had sown the seeds of mediocrity, well in advance.
Yes, though I do like the fact that, as you say, the family of idiots. The guy with the gun is reasonably intelligent, but everybody else in the family, man, that is... Ooh, the cream did not rise to the top.
I love the guy with the gun. I know I should know his name, but he's the guy with the gun. Because I loved it because it added an element of risk. Because a gun changes the game, completely changes the game. When everyone else has swords and you're the guy who brought a gun to a sword fight, like you're not invincible, but he could shoot you from across the way. He could do lots of things. So I'm glad they kind of singled him out as kind of the mini boss of this video game that we were fighting.
All I could think of, and I'm sure Tristan did at some point too, was Zoidberg getting the gun in Futurama and going, "No, world, you put your hands up." Like that was basically that guy walking through the whole movie. Like the gun would just peek out.
What I was thinking about was another cartoon, was American Dad, where Steve, the son, goes to Stan, the father, and says, hey, Dad, can you teach me how to fight? I was thinking about maybe learning some karate. He takes out his gun, just throws it on the kitchen table and goes, gun beats karate every time.
Yeah. Fair.
No,
very fair.
But again, just also the method of him kind of keeping it inside his robes. And it was kind of like always peek out, where the fact that you never knew if he was aiming it at you or if it was ready to go. But he totally also gave vibes of if a real fighter came up to him and got the drop of him and like beat him in the head, like took the butt of his sword and just broke his nose, he would be crying for mom. Like hands down, that kind of a person.
I got to say, because you mentioned him, peeking the gun out from between the folds of his robe and everything, and the fact that this won the Academy Award for Best Costume Design at the 34th Academy Awards. I just want to say that I feel like we've all taken a great misstep in fashion, because those robes look so comfortable.
They look
like, wait a
really
minute,
cool.
You just pull your hand in, like scratch your neck if you need to. Oh my gosh, here I am using sleeves like a chump. What's going on here? Like I really think we got to start a trend here based on this film, because that just looks really. I think everybody would be far less stressed if we dressed more comfortably, and this could be the moment where we go through. But yeah, it won the Academy Award for Best Costume Design. So, yeah, I mean, did that surprise anybody else? Because I'm like, was there anything in the costume design that really jumped out where it was like, oh my gosh, what?
Well, I will just say, because for things like that with the Academy, my next question, and really my first question, is who is it up against? Because for a category like point. That, like nothing against this movie, but it really is what were the other 4 that you were up against that year? That is going to tell me way more than anything I could say.
Okay, let's see here. Best costume design was up against a bunch of movies I've not seen, so
That's
can't
why
speak.
It won.
I can't speak. Did it? No, I'm sorry. It was nominated. It didn't win. My bad. It was nominated. It lost to. Hold on a second here. For Pete's sake, La Dolce Vita by Piero Girardi. So, anybody else seen that? It's a Fellini movie. No. Well, maybe House of Fellini is coming up in the future. Who knows?
So I really enjoyed the vast array of characters in this film. I feel like that's a pretty solid, let me rephrase that. I think that's a pretty standard Kurosawa fare, where you're going to have a lot of interesting characters surrounding the main person, or it might just be a straight up ensemble. like Darren, would you say that the guy with the gun is the one that stuck out to you the most, or was there somebody else that you really enjoyed? And John, same question to you.
I'm not going to necessarily say the guy with the gun because he comes in rather late. Like he's definitely the second act. Like this, he is the strongest part. But in the beginning, I mean, you say characters, it's almost caricatures because the constable. Oh my gosh! Like I'm like, buddy, fall on a rock or something. Geez, you are worthless beyond all measure to this town. You are not contributing anything. But him. I really liked the I was going to say cabinet maker, but the coffin maker, even when he's also helping carry the body, or not the body, the Yojimbo inside and all of that. So it's just I think the cabinet maker, the mortician, as it were, of that time. I enjoyed him. Nothing against gun guy, whose name I can't remember, but he does come a bit later in the movie. He's like reintroducing ourselves to secondary characters.
I think that the characters are distinct. I think that they are strong, but I'll detour and I'll just say that one of the great things about the film is that there's never any question as to who we're following. I think that it's so clearly our main character, because there are movies where it can lose focus a little bit, but I'll go back to the revelation of, she has a son and a husband. We're learning things with the character. He does not possess, omniscience, and therefore we don't either. And I think that's the great thing, is that all of these characters, as I'm thinking through, who was my favorite supporting character, I'm thinking of them all in relation to the main character. There's no standout that takes away from it. I think of them individually. Everybody is related to the main character. And but I do have an affinity, honestly, and I don't know I can't remember the character's name, but the very large gentleman who manhandles him like a rag doll obviously makes an impression, because you're like, whoa, that guy is enormous. And it's
got the hammer man.
Yes. The guy who picks him up by his face and throws him around a few times. Like, you're like, yeah, that guy walks in a room and you're just like, oh yeah, I'm not getting out of this one. This is for good, isn't it? So I really, that character really stuck with me.
What about you, Tristan? Did you have a secondary character that was interesting?
I really enjoyed the madam who was in charge of the brothel aspect of the business. I thought she was super fascinating, just the way that she presented herself, the way that she just like smacked her son around and, was clearly an equal to her husband. And I would have been intrigued, not saying that they should have done this, but I would have been intrigued if she was the main antagonist of the film. And I feel like this kind of movie easily could have geared more towards that, where like, they clearly bought these women are slaves, they're in a brothel, and this man with no name is here to shut the place down and get the women out, and only thing between them and freedom is this madam. I think that would have been, I'm not saying that that's where it should have gone, but that would have been an interesting movie with these actors and with these characters. But one thing, John, you talked about, the town being wrecked and him joking about like, oh, it's going to be quieter now. I had a little confusion as to who this town was for. Because once you take out the gangs that are now gone or dead, does the town belong to the coffin maker and the restaurateur? And is that it?
I think they're the only people left alive, except for Constable Zuvio. Yes, I said that on purpose. And I get what you're saying, but I think that is maybe that in and of itself is a thing that Kurosawa was trying to say. It's like, once the town becomes so corrupt, it's almost like, League of Shadows. A cleansing fire is the only thing that's going to take care of it. You got to burn it to the ground. The town can rebuild.
I feel like the the messaging would have been improved a little bit more if it was the kind of town that had a lot going on, or there was a lot of farmers that traded there or went through there.
Yeah.
Like we saw other people from other towns going through. Maybe it was a trading post, and like people felt like they couldn't even get their business done there because it's just gambling and, you know, gangs and things like that. Because at this point, this movie just kind of shows like, oh, maybe these 3 people that are left, maybe they should just move. Like,
right.
just go to a different town
somewhere else.
I feel like that would have been simpler than, you know, killing everybody and then leaving a burnt down town to these 3 guys.
No, that's a fair point. That's kind of the movie got so caught up in that part of the story that it was trying to tell that instead of writing 101 villagers' backstories on this one, Kurosawa was like, people are here for the gunfight or a sword fight. Sorry.
No, you're not wrong. The town is basically deserted when he gets there, and then they kill 90% of the remaining population of the town. I have to assume, if I gave 2 seconds of thought about it, it's a farmer town. Like, and none of the farmers have been going into town for the last several weeks because it's just too dangerous. You're going to get cornered by someone, and they're going to kill you because it's just being run by the gangs. But we could have used some scenes like in Seven Samurai when they're hunting for the samurai, and there's a million people there walking by, doing stuff, getting things. But I think just unfortunately how this story unfolded, we're already months deep into the town basically being deserted. And I think that's fitting for the story we were told. But it does also raise the question that you asked, Tristan, of well, then who is the town for?
I know there was some dialogue earlier where they're talking about, well, who's he going to sell the silk to or something like that. I think this might be another one where some of the nuance of the actual dialogue is lost in the translation. We talked about that previously. I think probably if we understood Japanese and could watch it in the native tongue without having to read the screen or rely on somebody putting those captions up there might be something in there that we're missing, that there's a little bit more fleshed out to that. But I got to know, like, violence wise, and I'm setting up something here. It's a little bit of a shaggy dog question, but like, did you guys see it? Would you guys keep your kids from watching this if they walked into the room? Like, is the violence across a line for you or anything like that? And because I'm building to a point.
I mean, I like how, I think we're so used to Tarantino,
right?
With the sword
dialed to 11,
that it's refreshing to see a realistic 3, where, like, when the bodyguard is just mowing those 6 people down, he does it with such precision. There's no blood splatter. There's no one's, there's not a geyser coming out of a dude's head. It happens so quickly, and the sound effects felt so real because they weren't really there. Like, we're so used to over the top sound effects and over the top visuals and fast cutting. It was so refreshing to see what a master swordsman would look like taking out 6 people in real time.
Yeah. Well,
I wasn't watching it through the lens of, boy, I wonder if my kids are going to want to see this. Like, that wasn't even on my radar. But I will say the most impactful death, as far as, I don't know, intensity is not the right word, but impact is Gun Guy, when all of a sudden, like, he's in a puddle under him. Like, you see it seep out, and it's a lot of blood. Like, that's the most blood we really see, and it's like covered. We don't see a gaping wound, but that was the most where I was like, oh, like, that was a really intense kill. Like, he is bleeding out as he's asking for his gun that's just out of reach. Like, oh man.
Well, the reason I ask is because there's a town, planned community, Columbia, Maryland. Grew up near there, as a matter of fact. And if I recall correctly, I think it was the actor Edward Norton's grandfather had something to do with it. But in 1968, they held a screening, and the viewers considered it so violent that the hosts had to hide in a bathroom to avoid the audience. And it's one of those things where it's like, I watch this and I'm like, there's a lot of blood under him at the end there. But like, if my kid walks in, hey, Dad, what you watching? That's an old black and white movie. I'm not like sweating my kid seeing this sort of thing. And I'm like, is it just to your point, Tristan, where it's like where we're so used to, Kill Bill levels of violence that we see this and we're like, there's some blood, whatever. I don't know. I just thought it was cute to see someplace I knew wanted to lynch people at the end of it because it was so violent. I'm like, this movie.
Early on, there is the arm chop off, which I could see that. That's my guess is a parent saw that in the first act of the movie and that colored them for the rest of the movie.
Oh, that's possible. That's a good point.
I think that's what happened.
And conversely, when I saw the dog come out with the hand in its mouth, I was like, I'm good. This is going to be a good movie. Like,
well, what I really liked was there wasn't there wasn't an over the top reaction. It was like it was played as as Yojimbo like sees the dog and his Mifune's expression is like, all right. Okay.
That's the kind of place
that's what's going on. Okay. He's not like fretting. He's not suddenly scared. It's just sort of like, all right, okay, this is where we're going with it. Cool. Like, I loved Mifune's performance throughout the whole thing. I thought he is so effortlessly magnetic from beginning to finish. I loved watching him in this.
Yeah. No, Mifune was really good. I'm not saying he's slower, but it's way more tempered than his earlier work. And that's probably partially just the character, because in the beginning, I'm thinking he's the laughing guy. Like, he's laughing all the time. He's jovial in his killing. That is not this character at all. But I think it's like when you see an actor who's played more of a lighter role finally get the dramatic role, and you're like, oh man, this person can act. Now, we all knew that going in. That is not a shock, but he's given the material here to really be an interesting character that like I said, we care about. We care about when he's hiding under the floorboards.
Again, I'll take that moment right there with what you're saying too. Once again, urge everybody, we're not going to be watching it here, but go and catch High and Low, which is another Mifune starring vehicle directed by Kurosawa. Came out a few years after this.
All right. Well, I feel like we're rounding third, and I think it's time to give some quick final thoughts as well as our ratings. And I'm going to switch things up. Even though I'm hosting, I'm going to make John go first.
Oh, you jerk. You awful, awful jerk. Okay. I loved this. This was a great first viewing. I loved, actually, even the way the wipes were done felt better in this one. Felt that, I really think that as we've gone along, it's almost like watching Nolan work, where you see how he refines himself as he goes through. So I think everything has been a very good sequence for analyzing Kurosawa in that regard. And I did really enjoy the music. I thought there was a good sense of humor. There was, strangely enough to put it this way, there was some fun in this. Like, I had a good time. Like, this is the type of thing that's like a popcorn movie, even though that's a sort of like a pejorative nowadays. But this is the type of movie where if I spent my money to go see it, I'm walking out, I'm like, yeah, that was a good couple hours. I had a good time, That said, that's sort of the limit for it. It's not got any super deep moments like Seven Samurai to it. It doesn't have like a philosophical thing that really challenges me like Rashomon. And it doesn't have this sort of like big, really unique take on the epic the way that Hidden Fortress does. So I really enjoy it, but there's a limit to it. So I'm coming in at 4 out of 5 severed hands in the dog's mouths.
Darren, your turn.
Yeah, this one I really enjoyed. It was, I'll watch it again. It was fun to just see him manipulate everybody. Like when he overhears that they're going to kill him and take the money back, I'm just like, oh, here we go. And it's just, he plays it so well. Although it doesn't help that I have zero context for the currency. He's like, oh, 10 of that. I'm like, is that good? Is that like a month's wages for a peasant? I don't know. So that kind of took a little bit, but Yeah, I mean, the fact that we can describe, it's interesting. I often say one of the marks of a good movie is quotability. And I feel like that's been a difficult metric to translate to Kurosawa because it is not my native language. So I am not remembering quotes, but I am remembering sequences. The sequence in, where he's killing the six and then, dirtying it up, where he's hiding underneath the floorboards and trying to escape, where he's sitting, with in the restaurant with everyone moving around. Those are ingrained. And I think that is a good mark. So I'm agreeing with John. I'm giving it four hands cut off to prove that you mean serious business.
I don't think there's too much more that I could add. This was a fun film. I think this is probably one of the more enjoyable ones I think we've seen so far, in my opinion. I'm giving this 4 out of 5 as well, because this is not a perfect film. This is not something where I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, I need to see this again. But it's so well made, so well executed, and has so many good parts that this is a strong 4, even if I have some things that are just like, I kind of wish they did this, I kind of wish they went down that road. But John, you are completely right. It is really fun to do this house of Kurosawa and see him grow and refine and change his style as he continues and just keeps getting better and better at his craft. Darren, what are we doing next week?
Next week's going to be the end of the House of Kurosawa. We're jumping to the 80s with Kagemusha here on Houselights.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.